Well, welcome back, everyone, to Two Pastors and a Mic. My name is Corey.
And I'm Shannick.
And we're glad that you're joining us. As we say every single week, do it. Share it. What do we do? Retweet
Like
it. I almost said
subscribe
retweet.
it.
Subscribe it. Share it. Send it to somebody. This podcast has grown. We're almost at 110,000 downloads in its entirety, which is crazy to think about. We never expected that. But honestly, that only happens because of how faithful so many of you are and how often you share about certain topics, thoughts, quotes, people's perspectives. Do it. We appreciate it. We love it. Seriously, here we are again talking about some wild things. So we appreciate all the love and support. I've been really encouraged by that over the last couple of weeks. And today we got a really fun episode. We're going to be talking about a specific story that you shared in your sermon when you came back from Guatemala. And the reason why we didn't share it last week is because I wanted to take a whole episode to talk about it. When you tell this story, I know you as the audience, if you haven't heard this, you're going to be like, most likely in tears, because I was when I first heard it. Either tears or awe. And I think I wanted you to share this because I've been processing it since you called me. You were in Guatemala when you called me and told me this story. And I was like, dude, you have to share this to our church. But since that conversation, I have been processing the information that you're about to hear. And I kind of want to just talk about it, kind of share even to our audience where I have been with this, where I'm at now, and how it has challenged me over the last, 6 weeks? When were you in Guatemala?
Like 4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago. So why don't you share about I think we'll even title this episode something about avocados. I don't know, but Why don't you take over and share this incredible story?
Yeah, so it's my 5th trip leading a team to Guatemala, and we help out What Matters Ministry and Missions there, specifically Casa, Angelina, which is an orphanage. They have 147 orphans. And then when you include the staff's kids, there's 200 kids there, 200 mouths to feed, 3 meals a day. It's a lot.
So much.
It's a whole lot. But their main goal is to be self-sufficient. They're trying to model their orphanage in a way where actually the government is taking notice of what they're doing and trying to model other orphanages after them. And so they're doing some incredible stuff. They have aquaponics going on,
which crazy.
Whereas like the fish and the fish excrement, like
you have to
puts
see
nutrients into the soil, and then that's where they grow all the herbs and stuff for the kitchen. They have a hillside where they plant thousands of vegetables. They almost are at 100% of their vegetable intake for the kids for the year of what's required and what they need, which is amazing. The whole place is on solar power now. They also have wells that they've made and have trenches and a gravity fed system where they're up to like 70-80% of the water needs, that they don't have to rely on getting it pumped in or the government and all of that. But another big self-sustainability piece was they bought an 8-acre farm right across the street from their orphanage. And there, everything grows like unbelievably well. It's surrounded by volcanoes. There's a little bit of ash in the soil. And when I'm saying this, I can't even do it justice, because the vegetables, take any vegetable that we might grow here in America, they grow them there, and they're 2 to 3 times as big.
Bro, I didn't even know the carrots were carrots when I saw them. I only knew that because they were orange. But I had to ask Bethany. I was there in 2018.
Yeah.
They had wheelbarrows of carrots they were bringing in. What is that? I've never seen that before, because they did not look like the carrots.
It's so wild.
It is.
And so what they decided to do, the most amount of money they can make off of growing and harvesting any type of crop would have been avocados. And there happened to be an avocado farm just up the hill from where this 8 acres is. And so they planted, I believe, they had the land there. I saw it in 2021. They went through the process of planting the trees over a couple years. So when I went in 2023, we just saw the trees maybe a foot tall all over this 8-acre hillside. So fast forward, it's 2025. And when I got there, I was blown away by not only the size of the trees at this point, but the story that Bethany told us. And it's a story that I'm going to tell you, the story that Corey wanted me to tell in this podcast, but I did have to set that little bit of context up. So avocados You need the avocado tree to be between 5 and 7 years old before you can get the first harvest off the avocados, off the tree. And usually, at that point, you can get one harvest a year from every tree that's 5 to 7 years old and up.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're about 2.5 years after planting the first trees. It just so happens that Bethany was up in the avocado farm with a lot of the orphans. They go up there, they take care of stuff, they cut the grass around it. They go actually and pray over the trees, and they have worship music up there that they play, and just see it as God's provision for them. And it just so happens Bethany was on the grounds right when an avocado farmer was on his way to the field that was next to them to go to the tree farm to do a harvest. He stopped by and he said, "Oh, these trees actually look pretty well. When were they planted?" And Bethany was telling him, and he's like, "Well, they'll be ready in about 2.5 years for the first harvest." And she's like, "Well, you already have the machine to test them and see what quality they are. Why don't you go ahead while you're here and do this?" Well, they had this machine with them. And what you need to know about avocados is all avocados in the world are judged on a scale between 0 and 30 to be able to sell in the supermarkets, to ship international. On this scale, they have to be between 19 and 24. So they had this machine with them. They went up to the first avocado and they ran the test and a scan on it, and it came back like a 29.4.
Like one of the best.
And they're looking at each other like, okay, this is wild. Let's go to another one. 29.7. Okay, let's pick a different tree. 29.8. Let's pick a tree way down the road, not close to this soil right here. 29.2. And they kept testing them and they were blown away. They're like, this doesn't happen. Yeah. Like, there's no way an avocado tree that is only 2.5 years old would produce the quality that these are. And so they said, let's work out a deal. Here's how much we pay per pound. And they worked it out. And they said, okay, well, we'll be back in like a few weeks to do the harvest. These are almost already ready. And they said, we, judging by how many trees and how many acres, we think you might get like 2,000 pounds, which is almost a ton, 2,000 pounds of avocados. And Bethany said in that moment, God just told her, no, tell them 3,000. And she's like, I think they're going to have 3,000. Just bring the boxes and everything you need to transport 3,000. And they're like, we do this for a living.
Yeah, sorry,
we
lady.
Calculated it.
Excuse us. This is our profession.
Yeah, it's what we do. And she's like, just go ahead and bring the boxes. If you don't have that many, you can either take the empty boxes back or just leave them till the next harvest. But you're going to want the boxes here, I promise. So they show up a few weeks later and they harvested 3,003 pounds of avocados. And they said, okay, we'll see you in 2.5 years. Because they thought this might be some anomaly, maybe with the seasons. They just happen to get one great harvest. But again, trees have to be between 5 and 7 years to get those numbers. And Bethany said, no, I think we'll have another harvest maybe this year. And they're like, lady, you don't know what you're talking about. She's like, okay, that's fine. They left. And again, this is something that the orphanage looks at for sustainability. Their whole motto is turning orphans into royalty. And they really do believe in James 1:27, where it says this is pure and undefiled religion to look after widows and orphans. And they've taken that to heart. And they said, God loves widows and orphans, and he's going to come through, and he'll continue to come through for us and these kids. It was about 3 months later, and Bethany said, I think these trees are ready, called the people, and they said, there's no way.
Yeah.
And
Impossible.
just come. They came back out with their tester again. Avocados were ripe, 28.7, 29.2, 29.5, 28.6. And they're like, what is happening? And she's like, God loves widows and orphans. That's all she kept saying to these people that had no idea,
right?
What was happening. So they harvested this time only 3 or 4 months later and got 4,000 pounds of avocados.
Which is crazy.
And they're like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you at this point, the farmer said, but maybe we'll see you next year. She's like, okay. 3 months goes by. She's like, hey, these trees are full of avocados again. And they're like, no way. She's like, come, look, bring boxes, I promise. They come out, test them, same deal. Third one in 9 months now, 3,000 pounds of avocados that they harvested, which was wild, just as all happening. And then we were there in July, about 4 weeks ago, and I brought back some pictures. And I showed them to our church, and I don't know if I think I got them on my story. So if you want to see some of these, you can find me on social media on my Facebook page, and scroll back to July. And some of these trees,
This is 3 months after the third one, right? So
4 months after the third one, they're already full of
yeah.
avocados again. And she was telling us this whole story and just really like encouraging our faith. And she said, yeah, they'll be here in 2 weeks to do our fourth harvest in a little over a year.
Which is crazy because they only harvest, you said once every year or once every 2.5 years?
Once a year.
Once a year they harvest avocados, and they did 4 within a year.
Yeah, and it's once a year to get that quality.
Yeah.
To do that, to be able
Just
to sell
like the
and distribute.
19 to 24 quality, and these suckers are
These are all
in the
28, 29. Yeah.
I was
That
in
was got to
bed.
30.
I was in bed watching a TV show when you called to tell me this, and I had it on speaker, so Julia heard the story. We couldn't finish the rest of our show because I remember thinking, what? So incredible, Like,
Yeah.
it's inspiring.
Yeah.
And I've been processing this for like a month because if we're being honest, like, you go through the deconstruction, we're always deconstructing. I think that's a lifelong process of like unlearning things that you believed and relearning. And there's a portion of me that just didn't expect miracles in my life because
Yeah. Same.
I just don't see them like that. And then you go to places like this and you not only hear stories, but you see it with your own eyes.
Yeah.
And it's inspiring again.
Yeah.
And I just know where I've been over the last, probably since I've been to Guatemala in 2018. And, you go through COVID and you pray for certain people and you don't see miracles. And then every now and then you see a miracle. Like, this just happened. One of these like crazy miracles like this, my cousin in Canada, I don't see them very often. The last time I saw them, last summer we went for my grandma's funeral who passed away, and I got to see my cousins for the first time since 2007. So it'd been 17 years since I had seen all my cousins. We're all grown. We all got families.
Yeah.
And my one cousin, who I stay relatively in touch, we follow each other on social media. I'll comment here and there, but we're not really like talking. And just sitting down, getting to talk with them, and then finding out that they were told that they would never be able to have children, and how devastated they were by that. And so here we are at my grandma's funeral, and we're watching, my grandma be laid. And I didn't really have a great relationship with my grandma at this time just because of proximity. Like, we just didn't do life. And quite honestly, I regret not making enough effort to regularly be in her life. Now, we emailed all the time, and I kept up with pictures, but there was a little bit of that guilt there. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're here, and my cousin, who has a great relationship with her, and, he's like devastated. And in that moment, I just felt like the Spirit was like, hey, this is a symbol of death. Obviously, grandma's dead. But I want you to speak life to their womb. And I was like, no, like, that is
Right.
what, like, this is inappropriate. But I remember, like, this was this for sure the Spirit. And so I just pulled him aside. I pretty much said that, like, we're experiencing death and pain and grief right in this moment. But I don't know where you guys are with your faith. God wants to do a miracle in your life. And you guys, like, this is going to be a representation that when you look back at this memory of grandma's death, which is devastating, you're going to be remembered that God breathed life into you. And they got pregnant, and they just had their baby like 3 months ago. And we talked about it, like, yeah, they're like, that was a miracle. Like, Jesus did a miracle in our lives. And I have those moments, and I
Right.
believe that they can happen. And I know that they exist. And you hear about these stories, but there's a part of me that's so hurt by the miracles that didn't happen.
Oh yeah.
That make me skeptical and
Right.
like not want to go out and do this.
Exactly. Because how many times have you prayed for the exact same
Yeah.
thing, and the couple never got pregnant?
A plethora of times.
Yeah, I know that's where I'm at with it too. And so it's one of those like torn things. Like,
Yeah.
I know in scripture the guy that says I believe but help my unbelief. Like
One of the greatest scriptures, all of
Yeah.
them. And then as we are recording this, like, if you're on social media and you follow people, however you feel about Forrest Frank and his music, he puts out great music for kids, really, like, and it's really uplifting. Do you know this story, what I'm about to share?
Like the
He
guy
broke
that
his back.
broke his back on the
So he broke
skateboard
his
accident.
back
I
on the
saw it. And then,
skateboard,
yeah.
throws out 2 bangers that go viral, but then he gets miraculously healed, and he shares about this journey, and you get to literally see this, and he
Yeah.
shows the proof of his journey, and you're looking at this, and you're like, that's an incredible testimony. And then the doubt in me is like, well, why did it take 2 weeks? And well, why don't other people happen? And so I'm not
Yeah.
saying that these aren't miracles. Like, of course, they're real miracles. I'm in this season hearing so much of these that I'm starting to believe again and expect them. I mean, so this past week, you don't know this, I get up earlier than most people here just because my schedule. And I pulled in the parking lot, and I have never prayed while walking around our church property. And I just took a couple laps and started praying and believing again. And who knows if anything is going to happen based on what I prayed for in terms of miracle, but it was inspiring for
Yeah.
me to just to remember again and to lean into that. And even if expectations aren't met, I know you would challenge not have expectation, have expectancy. So I'll use expectancy, like have some expectancy. And if they don't get met, it's all good. But I've been inspired over the last month listening to the story of the avocados and still trying to combat my doubts and skepticism towards them. And I know you've really challenged me on the difference between uh, being vulnerable and being transparent. And transparency is a good thing. Transparency
Yeah.
is letting you know about things I've already kind of
You can
overcome.
let people see things in your life happening, but
And-
you get to choose what those things are.
Right. And you were challenging me like, it's great that you're transparent, but I want you to be more vulnerable in your teaching. Vulnerable, which is different from transparency, because vulnerable lets you in on the process while you're still in it. And so I want our audience to know, like, I'm still in this process of believing for miracles, and then also understanding that there's real skepticism and doubt within miracles. And so if you're listening to this and maybe you're in the inspired camp and this has just got your juices going again, you're like, yeah, I'm believing for a miracle, I'm going to hold on. Or maybe you hear this and you're like, yeah, but you're heard and you're seen and you're validated in all that. And this last month has been really good for me because I've just been kind of just sitting in these, the thought process of being vulnerable again to miracles and believing for them and hoping for them in certain aspects of my life and in my kids, and really like changing even my prayers in some things. Cause like we probably should do a whole lesson on pray. I have an ebook coming up on how to pray and prophesy in the new covenant, because my life has drastically shifted. I no longer pray like Jesus. Like I just believe that prayer is just a constant daily, like I'm always in prayer all the time. And it doesn't look like what it looked like for the first 25 years of my life, even 30 years of my life, like it's just casual and constant. And I just want to be a person that believes more in miracles,
Yeah. And I think the big thing is we're so enamored with some of those supernatural miracles that don't seem to make sense. Like the guy's back that was broken and fractured. He goes back and gets an MRI and there's no fracture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my gosh, like an obvious, what we would say would be a miracle. But I think where I'm at now is, again, my faith was stretched big time in that experience, just not only there, but as my travel in Africa, but also even with Relife and what we're doing, like even small things like having a board meeting and thinking about, okay, how are we going to fund what we feel like God has started through us? And we have operating expenses and insurance and utilities and all of these expenses and upkeep and maintenance to the homes that we now have acquired. And so it's like, how are we going to just function as an entity moving forward? Because it isn't necessarily anymore a church only thing. We're now our own nonprofit trying to stand on our own feet. And we had this board meeting and right now the board members of Hill City are the same for Relife. And we're looking to add a few more. We actually have already added a few more, so they're not entirely the same. And we were like, is Hill City just going to just fund this out of giving ministry and things like that and asking for donations? And you remember the board meeting. I'm like, well, as we get into it, we'll see what opens up and what opportunities are there, or maybe some creative ways. And I'm not a fundraiser. I don't just go out and
Yeah.
ask people for money or do some type of fundraising. I don't have that ability to really do that. But just, again, trusting God, believing God. And we had that conversation. Well, just in me telling the story, just a few weeks after that board meeting of Relife and what we're doing, God took that story and in a couple of weeks worked on someone's heart, and they gifted us the house at the discount rate so that we can fix it up, sell it, and we'll be able to hopefully make and profit for 2 to 3 years of operating expenses. And it's like, that's also an incredible miracle.
Yeah.
Like the doors that were opened, like in the process, but it's still a little bit different than that, like supernatural, or what'd you call it earlier? This crazy big miracle,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You called it something. It was really good, but like blind eyes opened, or somebody dead being raised to life, and which you've heard about, you hear about too sometimes. Like,
yeah,
it's just wild. And so, yeah, for so long, I think I just shot away from a lot of that, but God's doing some work in me too, to believe for that a little bit more, to begin to not like seek it out, but be willing to, to declare that, and to pray for those things.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we can then seek the supernatural, like the big ones, like broken backs, avocados, and I believe that you should, but let's not be so quick to overshadow the simple and the mundanes and the faithful and the consistency that I would also call is miracles. A lot of what is happening in real life is because of 5 years of due diligence, 20 years of due diligence, really, in walking out faithfulness and being a good steward of what we had, so that we could even be open to opportunities like that to receive a miracle in someone gifting a house. And so, this is just where I'm at. I don't want to do like a big teaching on it, on what to expect and how to deal with the doubt. I just wanted to kind of let our audience know where I'm at, how I've been inspired. It's super inspiring to hear a story like that, on top of all of Africa, on top of all the things that are happening behind the scenes, because you're dealing with not just miracles and incredible moments, and you're not just dealing with love and people's lives being changed, but you're also dealing with the criticism and people criticizing certain things that you believe, or certain things we've shared on this podcast. And I'm like, but are you loving?
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, you might hear that story of Avocado and think, oh my God, that's such an amazing miracle, and God's providing in such a supernatural way. But you would have to experience not just that, because for me, yes, telling that story, it inspires people, makes people think about how God's taking care of widows and orphans. But when you're there and you look out and see those 147 kids that now are truly being raised up, have opportunity, going to school, graduating college, university, becoming lawyers. I mean, seriously, you see the wall of kids that have grown all the way through their program, and in their school they have there, and there's like doctor, a nurse, a pilot, an engineer, like teacher, medical field. Like, it's wild. And the avocado tree story is cool, but
those are
at the end of the day, those kids are the miracle.
Yep.
Themselves.
Oh, what a segue.
And while I was there, I had an opportunity to they wanted me to preach at their youth group, which was so cool. Probably the most fun I've had preaching in a decade.
I know you shared it last week.
It was so much fun. And I did the whole story, the necklaces with all of it. And
it's been
just
a crazy week
that,
for him.
It was just honoring them in that way, and recognizing them as royalty, but seeing them like as a miracle that God is providing for them now.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So we'd like to hear about yours, the simple, the profound, and maybe take a step of faith and start believing again for the supernatural, even in simple ways. So I'm inspired by that. If you haven't already gotten his book, Enough Already, What Have I Told You? We got him right here. A lot of ebooks out there, a lot of opportunities for you to grow miraculously in your mental and emotional health. If you haven't downloaded the free ebooks, all 8 of them so far, what are you doing? Go support your boy. Go buy his book. A lot of awesome things going on around at Hill City, and stay tuned at thepowerofread.com. We'd love for you to get involved if you haven't already gotten involved, whether tangibly with your hands and feet or financially, as we are actually helping widows and potential, well, not widows. They're not widows.
No.
They're single moms. Could have been widowed
Mhm.
single moms in our community. It's a great initiative, great thing that we're doing for our community. I love it. So I appreciate you being on our journey. Would love to hear what the Spirit is stirring up in your life. And with that, just know
You're loved, and there's nothing you can do about it.